Hi, this is Jeremy Moskowitz, and in this video we're going to talk about how to use PolicyPak Least Privilege Manager Self Elevate mode. Now before I get too far into it, I want to advise against using this feature. That's right, this is a feature that we built, but I hope you don't have to use it. Well, let's talk about why you would have to use it though. You might have an application that throws a UAC prompt. You would generally use Least Privilege Manager to just make a rule to overcome that. Or if a user in the field needs to install an application, you would generally make another rule to overcome that. But you might have the scenario from time to time where you want to enable a bucket of people to just do all the things as if they were admins, even without local admin rights, just all the things. So how do we do that? Well, that's what Self Elevate mode is all about. So what I'm going to show you here is I'm going to create a new GPO here called PPLPM Self Elevate mode. Okay. When we go to Self Elevate, the rules for Self Elevate, you can do this on the user or the computer side. So I'm going to do this one on the user side. So I'm going to go to Least Privilege Manager. Okay, and I'm going to right click, add new Self Elevation policy. So new Self Elevation policy wizard gives you the ability to turn on all these values automatically no matter what the story is. So for instance, if you wanted everybody who gets this GPO, and this is linked to my East Sales users. So if I wanted all of my East Sales users to be able to perform any executable or to perform any MSI or to do both, or scripts or Java, why don't we just stick to executables and MSIs to keep it easy here. So whenever I click on these things, I can right click and then perform self-elevation for any activity I need for XEs or MSIs. We also have the limiters. We have another video on the limiters. By default, it will apply to child processes. If you don't want to do that, you can uncheck that. If you want to rein people in a little bit more by making it so that it, they can't use this. They can, use this for as little evil as possible. You might want to do that. Again, I have other videos on this particular thing. For this particular demo, I'm just going to go ahead and just talk more about self-elevation mode. And as you see, I've enabled it for XEs and MSIs. Go ahead and click on next here. Let me add in a member of a domain, and I'm going to add in all of my East Sales users. Okay, so you do have to actually dictate a group even if it is targeted at an OU level. I'm going to dictate my East Sales users here. All right, so that's who they are. And then here's where I have some choices. The first thing is you can change the name of the self-elevation command item. I'm going to come back to that. We can also display a message to the user. We can use the default message or change it. We'll come back and change that in a second. And then you can also do what's called require justification text, where they have to tell you why they're doing this thing. So we'll call this self-elevation for East Sales. And then we'll come back around and take a look at some of those extra settings. All right, so just to put a fine point on it, here's a .exe. It forces me to put a UAC prompt in, and I can right click, and there's no way for me to run this thing magically. Same thing for this MSI package. Once I get to here, I'm going to get a UAC prompt. Okay, I'm going to get a UAC prompt here. Okay, and there's no magical way to overcome that. Okay, if I were to right click, there's no magically overcome. Okay, let's go ahead and run GP update here, and we'll see self elevate with the default options for a second first, and then we'll come back around and we'll play with the knobs and whistles. Okay, give this a second to finish up here. And there we go. So Procmon, again, if we double click it, what happens? We still get the UAC prompt, but now because we said that East Sales the East Sales users can do self-elevate, we can right click and do run self-elevated with PolicyPak. So now that we do that, we did say that we wanted to put justification in here. So let's go ahead and let's say why. This is required for the monthly report or something, whatever. Okay, let's go ahead and put that in there and click OK. And look at that. It runs. We've got our application to run. We didn't have any special rules in place. This person was able to overcome that UAC prompt, and you didn't have to know a certain rule in advance. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for Skype setup. Right click and run self-elevated with PolicyPak. Let's see what happens here. Hey, look at that. So need this to communicate with, whatever. Okay. Go ahead and click OK, and it runs and it installs just fine. Okay, so you can see what the defaults were there. Chances are you probably want to go back and make your own configuration changes to the default. So let's go ahead and do that and see what those look like. I kind of want to give you a little bit of demonstration in there. So let's go ahead and change some of those items here. So those would be the messages. So the first thing is that you can change the right click. So what we could do is say audited self elevate for IT. Whatever's right for you, okay? The second thing is that you can display a message. Every action here is audited. Please think twice before elevating. Okay, whatever you want. And you can also add in some variables as well. So if you wanted to add in, for instance, the process name, okay, so the process name, oops, here you go, process command line, and if you wanted to add in the publisher or whatever else you wanted to put in here, that's available to you. Some of these may or may not make sense depending on the situation, but they're all available for you here. Okay, whoops. So the message that would be displayed here would be, everything is audited. Think twice. Okay. All right. Obviously, I'm going kind of fast here. All right. So that's that. And let's go ahead and check that out. Let's see how that works. Actually, I wanted to do one more thing here, which is the required justification text. So that's available. It's on by default. You can turn it off if you want to, but it's we recommend that you leave it on there, and you'll see why just at the end. So let's go ahead and run GP update here, and we'll just do two more different things here. Okay, give this a second to finish up. All right, so what we'll do is we'll right click over Procmon and boom, Self Elevate for IT. Okay, we changed the flyout item here, and hey, look, everything is audited. Think twice. This is a message from your IT department, and look, you can see that we put the variables in here, Procmon, the process itself, and then I think I picked the publisher. So need to run this for weekly report. Okay, so this is being audited. This is just, you should probably also say like enter your justification text below. You have to like actually put that in here. So you should probably change that. Go ahead and click OK, and bang, it does its thing. All right, if we were to try to do now this time Silverlight install, right click, audited for Self Elevate IT. Okay, there you go, same idea. Need this for old IE website, whatever, and you're off to the races. Okay, so because all of this is being audited, I want to show you where this lives in the event log so you get a feel for how this works. So if we go to Event Viewer here, okay, and we go to Windows logs, Applications and Services logs rather, there's a PolicyPak node. And in the PolicyPak node, we're going to have all of our events. And you could use, we have other videos on event forwarding and tracing, and you can go ahead and watch those. But the point is that everything happens local to the machine, and so everything you do here will show up here. So if we go over to the PolicyPak node, you're looking for least privileger manager client events. Typically what you're looking for is 6400, 6401, and 6402. Okay, so you can see 6401 is self-elevated with justification text. Okay, Silverlight installer. Gosh, I really wonder why they needed it. Oh, look at that. They needed it for this old IE website. Okay, and if we look over here, here's Procmon. Why do they need it? Oh, they needed it to run this weekly report. And if we take a look at this guy, we can see what the allowed versus blocked is. We actually can see this gives sort of like a little mini RSOP of what's happening. We can see that eSales user 1 is allowed to do these things on this machine. Now, that's basically all the bells and whistles. However, what I also want to show you is how to block a specific user from doing this. Remember, we said that we wanted to do this, we wanted to do the self-elevation for East Sales. So I'm allowing, my allowed users is East Sales. If I wanted to now take away this ability for a particular user, you can create another self-elevation policy that will block them. So if I were to disable that, it's going to block them. Okay, who's the them? You can add a particular group or you can add a particular user. So I'm going to add a domain user here. I'm going to use the same guy I'm logged on right now as East Sales User 1. Okay, there's East Sales User 1. Going to select him, and what worked 10 seconds ago shouldn't work now. So, blocking East Sales User 1 here. Okay, go ahead and click Finish. And now, if we were to go to GP Update here, let's give this a second. Okay, let this finish up. So everybody in East Sales can do it, but not East Sales User 1. How do we know? Well, let's just double click on Procmon. That shouldn't work anyway. There's no rules for that. But if we were to right click and audit with self-elevated IT, it doesn't work. How about if I were to do an MSI, right click and I can't do that. It doesn't let me anymore. Right. So the idea is that you're creating the first rule for who will get the self-elevation policy, and then you're going to create later rules for who will block it, okay, if that's what you want to do. So hope this is a feature that you don't have to use, and the reason why I'm advising against it is that it really is incredibly powerful and kind of gives self-elevation / emergency rights to somebody or a group of somebody's if you need to, but I think it's a better practice to try to eliminate self-elevation and use rules that that you are targeting to those users or computers, so you actually have a better handle on exactly what they're doing. On the other hand, though, if you do turn on self-elevation, at least everything is logged to the event log, and you can use those logs to your advantage to figure out what you can then make rules for and then eventually turn off self-elevate. Okay, so I hope this gets you to where you need to go, and looking forward to seeing you in PolicyPak land real soon. Thanks so much.